Now we're going to add some more content to this new div that we've put in place. We're going to add it after the H2. So I'm going to select my H2 so I know that I'm going to be adding it after my H2. And I want to make sure that I'm in my medium view, which is 992 pixels to 1999 pixels. I can grab my live view scrubber and just move it around. This is the area I want it. I want to make sure that this is the medium view, okay? There we go, medium view. Because when we add a row, the default size of the columns is going to be based on, whatever viewport we're using. So if we're viewing something with medium, it's going to have the rules for medium. If it's large, it's going to have the rules for large. So we're in medium view now. We're going to go to our insert panel, and we want to insert a grid row with a column. We're actually going to use 3 columns this time. So are we ready to do this? We just click on grid row with column, and we're asked how many columns. Do you want to do 3? Yeah, we want to do 3. And we're going to do after, because we're putting it after our H2, and then we're going to say OK. Great, now we have 3 columns, column 1, column 2, and column 3. Now my plan of action here is to add a bunch of text to the first column, and then once we're happy with that, we're actually going to delete the other 2 columns and then just copy the first column so that we don't have to do the same thing 3 times. So the first thing we want to add after we've added that row with 3 columns in it, the first thing that we want to add is another one of our glyphicons. So I'm going to go to my glyphicons, and I'm going to use glyphicon home because that's one of the defaults. We could try one of the other ones if you'd like to. Envelope, X, menu. Maybe we'll try OK this time. And that's asking where do we want to put it. We're going to nest it because we're putting it inside of that first div, the first MD4 div. Let's say nest it. Okay, there we go. Got it there. Okay. Now we want, after our glyphicon, we want to put an H4 element. So since we have our glyphicon selected, we can just go straight to the insert, and we can choose heading and choose H4. Just select H4, and we're asked where do you want to put it? After it, before, whatever. Yep, we want to put it after it, so let's say after. And we get that placeholder text, so I'm going to switch back to design view, my favorite place to change placeholder text. And I'm going to change that. We want to make sure we don't mess up our glyphicon, so I'm just going to make sure I click inside that text. And I'm going to type the word gallery because I'm going to be talking about our gallery page. Okay. Now we've got our H4 selected. The next thing we want to do is we want to insert a paragraph. Now this can be a little tricky because sometimes Dreamweaver will think that when we add a paragraph that we're trying to change our H4 from an H4 to a paragraph. So let's switch to live view and let's see what happens. Okay, we've got our H4 selected, and then we're going to choose paragraph. Insert paragraph, and we want to say we want to put it after, and there we go. Worked that time. We got our, this is our content for the layout paragraph P4 tag. Now I'd like to actually fill in this text. This text doesn't tell us a whole lot. So anytime we want to type in text or add text, switch to design view. And I have some text all ready for us to add in here. And again, we can go to our files and we can go under our tutorial. And if we look in our text files, I'm going to double click on that. And here in module 2, we have, it says homepage part 2 featured pages text, and I'm going to copy this first line of text. It says this website has curated a selection, etc. That's what we want. So I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose copy. I'll come back over here to my index page. I'm going to carefully highlight this text, and I'm going to right click and I will choose paste. And there I had a G left over there, so let me delete that G. I like that. Coming right along. So now I've got, let's switch back to my live view. Okay, we've got a check mark, a gallery, and a text. Not super awesome at this point, but we're going to make it look better. So what I want to do is I want to add a selector to make the glyphicons extra big. So how do I do that? I'm going to click on my glyphicon, and I want to make sure that here in my status bar I've got that span selected that is the glyphicon. And I want to create a style rule for this. So I go to my CSS designer, make sure we're in styles, we are. Make sure we've got global selected because this rule is always going to come into play. And I will click the add selector, and Dreamweaver is going to try and suggest for us the appropriate selector. So this really isn't what we're looking for, and I'm going to tell you what we're looking for. We know that we want everything that has an ID of icons 3. So I can start typing that. I can type # IC. Okay, Dreamweaver filled in icons 3 for us. That's good. And then I'm going to hit a space, and then we want it to be a member of the glyphicon class. So I'm going to type in $GL, and Dreamweaver filled in glyphicon for me. That's very helpful. So this rule is going to affect all the glyphicons that are inside of my div called icons3. And this is really how we do style rules in web design. We're looking at what is it that we can use to target this particular glyphicon. We know it's a glyphicon. It's a member of the class glyphicon, so we can use the class glyphicon. And we know it's in a container that's the icons3 container. So I can put those two defining characteristics together and make a rule that's only going to target my glyphicons. So I'm going to hit enter. Now here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to make it bigger. I'd like to give it a font size of 80 pixels. So I'm going to click on my text icon, and I'm going to click on down here to where I see font size, and I'm going to select PX for pixels. You know, as soon as I did that, my glyphicon disappeared because right now it has a font size of 0. And I'm going to type in 80 and press enter. Now that's looking a little bit more mighty, right? We got a big old check there. Okay. Now I'm going to hit save all because I like the work that I've done so far. Now, and then we got a message here about wanting to update the script tag in the following files. Not sure why it's asking me that, but I'm going to go ahead and say OK. Update. And close. Now, let's go to our code view. And let's scroll down to where our code actually is. Alrighty. So, we can see, if I go to my DOM panel, right, I've got this row, and inside of the row, remember I've got 3 columns each with a class of middle 4. So my first column's got a lot of stuff in it, right? It's everything I put in it. Next 2 columns are empty. We're going to delete those 2 columns that are empty. So I got that column highlighted. I'm just going to hit delete. Okay. Hit delete over here. It's gone. I'm going to click on my next. I hit refresh. I'm going to click on my next column. I highlight here, highlight it in the status bar, hit delete, and it's gone. Hit refresh. Now I'm going to go to my last one, and that's the one that actually has all the content that we've been using. So I'm going to copy that. So I'm going to go to right click on this and choose copy. Okay. And then I'm just going to hit the return key on the keyboard, give myself a little space, right click and choose paste, hit return key on the keyboard, give myself a little space, and hit paste. And I'm going to save, and let's switch to live view. There we go. That's kind of actually what we're aiming for. So we've got these glyphicons all stacked one on top of each other. And notice when we click over here and switch from medium to small view, they're now stacked one on top of each other. And that's because we were in medium view when we dropped these in place. So they have the 3-column class when they're in medium view, but once they go to small view, they take up the full 12 columns. All right, this is a good place to take a break. We'll come back and pick it up after this.